Hi, it's Lisa Cuneo. Welcome to my scrapbook table. Today's layout is inspired by the one that you see here as part of a layout tag through the Scrapbook Nerd online shop. I have these two photos. One is a bouquet of flowers that a student gave me, and the other is just a note that she left with them on my whiteboard. And I'm showing you things I think I'm going to use. I end up not using the Simple Stories rub-ons, even though I love them. I'm using this stack of flowers to create the collage in the middle of the page, and then my photos will go on top. Here I'm using my chart that I've made of the colors of inks that I have from Distress Oxide, and I'm choosing what I will use. I ended up with a couple of oranges and a yellow. Let's see, I used spiced marmalade and ripe persimmon, as well as squeezed lemonade. And I also added a little bit of Uncharted Mariner, but I ended up not adding that all over, and now I kind of wish that I had, but I ended up not doing that. It would have been pretty. Now that I look at it, it could have used the darker blue in some places. I also used that stencil that I showed you at the middle. It has some dots that go from large and then fade to small. And I used that to create a little bit of texture here as well. So here's where I start the mixed media. Excuse me. The pause here where you don't see me on camera is where I'm rooting through my trash can that's beside me for a piece of plastic packaging that I can use. And there, I found some. And I just added some colors to this packaging. I spray it a little bit with my water bottle and just start smushing the ink on my paper. If I were doing this layout over, I would have gone further out from the center because a lot of my pretty ink work got covered up. And that's not a bad thing because the whole point is my photos, but I just wish the yellow and orange were showing a little more at the sides than they are. But live and learn. I'll know that for next time. And here's where I try a little bit of the blue. It was running with some of the orange on the plastic and turning into a brown. And I just think it's too dark, so I dabbed it off and it ends up covered up anyway. Excuse me. And there, I'll set those aside. I didn't put them away yet because I didn't know if I might use them later. And so now I'm pulling out the flowers, just laying them on there, deciding what leaves to use. I have these 4 pale green, they're almost, I don't know, they're not paper, but they don't feel quite like fabric either. I have no idea what they're made of, but they are nice and textured, and I like the vibrant green that they add to this. And then I've come across I have a bin of leafy stuff. I come across these that are from Creative Memories, and at first I thought they were too dark, but then I realized I can use the flip side of them, and they are just right. They're laser cut, and they're really pretty. So I decide to go with those, and then the brighter spring green of the fabric type leaves that I have there. And now I'm deciding where my photos are going to go, so I'm spreading out a lot of those flowers so that I'm not covering up too many of them with my photos. This bouquet stayed pretty for so long. And you can see I only put adhesive in the center. That's because I want to tuck things all around there. And I'll add some more adhesive later once I get other things in place. But this bouquet stayed gorgeous. I had it on my table at home. I took it home after the school year was over. And it lasted at least 2 weeks. And then I was able to cut down and just keep the smaller ones that were still pretty. And I put those in a tinier vase for another 3 or 4 days. I got so much enjoyment from this bouquet of flowers. And this was a special student, and I will miss her. She's a sweet girl. So here I'm just fiddling with where I'm going to put things. That takes me quite a while to get everything glued down. I want things tucked in. I want the leaves on top of some flowers and below some others. I bought this pack of flowers and actually there were 2 packages together at Tuesday morning. Unfortunately, I don't have the packaging anymore, so I can't tell you what brand they were. I've had them in my stash since about the beginning of this year, and I pulled them out to put them on my table the other day because I hadn't used this stuff and I wanted to get it used up. And the inspiration piece that I had, when I saw all the pretty leaves on there, it made me think of these flowers, and also this picture of my bouquet from a diva was there as well. So they just kind of all came together nicely. As I'm making this layout, I was visiting with my sister, who's here for a couple of days, and we had fun chatting. I don't get to see her very often, just a few times a year. So while I'm crafting, she's going through my drawers and looking at supplies and dyes and things like that. I think at some point she waves in here. There we go, and I'm liking that. I do have a card over there that you can just see to the right of the layout and near the glue. That's what I'm going to use for journaling. I think about, do I want a butterfly at the top? And I decide, yes I do, but I don't know, do I want the light butterfly or the darker one? And on the advice of my sister, I go with the lighter one. And here I'm trying them again, and that's where she tells me, go with the light one. And I cut this one in half. I do that with a couple of the flowers so I can have a little bit of them peeking out at a couple different places with only using one flower. Put this blue piece toward the bottom. I know I'm trying at the top at the moment, but it doesn't stay there. It slides down to the bottom. Just barely peeks out. And now I'm going to adhere the butterfly. I put some Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive on the wings and a little bit of Nuvo Deluxe adhesive in the center. And I add that at the top left. I like the look of that. Now I think I add the second photo that's of her note that she left on the board. I wish I had printed this in a smaller format, but that's okay. It works out fine. Here I end up moving that pretty spring green leaf because I don't want to completely cover it up with the photograph. And I remove a partial flower as well. Here's where I realize, oh, I never tacked the rest of this photo down. So I'm doing that. I'm thinking about where to put this other leaf, and I decide it will go on the left. And I tuck that extra part of a flower at the bottom right corner, which is nice because it brings some of that brighter corally pink color from the butterfly and a couple other flowers down to that bottom right corner, which I think was needed. Now I'm snipping up some dimensionals to put underneath some parts of the flowers because I want some of them to stick up a little bit. And so I go around the layout and just add 1 or 2 pieces of that beneath some particular flowers. And I like how that adds some dimension to this layout. Takes me a little while. It would have been easier if I had thought to do this when I was putting the flowers down, but of course I did not. In case you're wondering, layout tag is kind of like the game of telephone when you were a kid. You know, each person only got the message of the person before, and then you compared the beginning and the end. Well, layout tag is there's a specific inspiration piece that the first person is given, but then each subsequent person only sees the one before them. And at the end, when all of them are revealed, you get to see the progression from the first layout to where it ended up, and that's always really fun. I didn't like the color of the flower that was on this journaling card, so I just covered it up with another one. It was a bright red, and it's not like that I dislike the color, it just doesn't go with this layout. It's a little too much red in it to fit. So I go ahead and tack that down, and I just add a different flower. There are a couple still shots coming up. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great day.